Good morning, church. How's everybody? Great? I can hear that this side is doing great. What about that side? I hope that you guys are doing good there. Yeah, excited. Today, we don't have any pastor in this place. So exciting. I'm free to do whatever I want today. Just don't tell Pastor everyone that I told you that. All right, so this morning we're going to continue on the topic that we've been talking for the past month. We're talking on a topic about the in-between. How many of you know that being in the between is not a very convenient place to be? I don't like in a period of waiting. I don't like in a period of when you're trying to get something and you just have to wait and you don't know when it's going to happen. You know what I'm talking about? Back in my college days, even though I live in an apartment, I have my own parking spot, I get ticketed a couple times because I'm too lazy about waiting for the garage to open. You have to press the button and then after that it waits. That wasted like 15 seconds of my time. And then I still have to go in. I'll just park in front and I've talked to myself that it's just going to be 15 minutes, I'm going to be out. But yeah, I accumulated some. And you and I think we can relate. We don't like waiting. How many of you like waiting? I'm waiting here. I believe that none of us like waiting. As a matter of fact, how many of you have heard about the placebo buttons around us? Have you ever heard about placebo buttons? Go to the next slide here. You know, when you go around you, the environment around you, you will find there's a lot of placebo buttons. If you go to the office, you know, there's like a thermostat that every now and then that you will see. And you want to change it because you feel too cold, you feel too hot, and you start pressing it, nothing happened, okay? And when you go to the elevator, a lot of times when you press the close button, let me break it to you because you just want to go where you want to go as soon as possible and you just smash on that close button as fast as you can. Tell you what, the first 10 seconds, the first 5 to 10 seconds, usually it will not do anything because it's the law. It's just a placebo to make you feel better. And get this, around the city, you know the crossing sign button, right? A lot of times, back in 2004, they measure about only 100 out of 1,000, so only 10% of them actually work, right? The newest data says that basically about like, I don't know, 6, 7, you generation, the Gen Z said 67% of them doesn't work. I don't know how many of them still works today, but majority of them don't work at all. And the reason why they don't remove these buttons is because like when they remove this button, people starts to get in panic and people starts getting really uncomfortable. And that is telling us the true situation of our hearts. This is the true situation of our hearts. You can go to the next slide. We prefer the illusion of control to the reality of our own vulnerability. How many of you can relate with that? We prefer the illusion of control, that we have things under control, although we don't actually have control over things in life. Just the illusion itself is enough. It makes us feel better. But that is actually the danger zone. Because when your heart is waiting in dark, in cold, where no one can see, and it's trying to maintain control, it will grow either to rot or it will grow closer to God. One will try to kill you, the other one will bring you life. One will try to kill you, kill your faith, the other one will try to bring you to the road of fulfillment. Let me give you an example. You know, I believe this will happen in every single family. You know, I want to give you an illustration of the fridge. This is just like the period of waiting. How many of you know that in the back of your fridge, it will never remain the same? Something is always growing there. How many of you know what I'm talking about, or am I just nasty here? You know, if you check in the behind of your fridge, there's always something that is growing. Because you'd never check, it's in the dark all the time, it's cold, you just don't know, it just keeps on growing. And I believe that in every single family, there is this high priest that is just blessed by God with their ability of sense of smell. You know like that person in your family. In my family, that's my wife. If there's anything at all in our house that we don't know whether it's safe to eat or not because it's been sitting there for ages, we just bring it to the high priest. Here, Mom, sniff. And she will take a whiff out of it. And she will tell us whether it's safe or not. I don't have that ability. I don't have that gift. I don't have that superpower. Years ago, before we got married, I put a chicken on the back of my fridge. 2 weeks. But I thought that in the fridge, everything is safe, never changed, right? That's what I thought. My wife told me, back then we were just dating, she told me, that's not safe. I told her, what do you know? I ate it, and then I got really sick. Like the word of God said, come to the throne of grace with confidence. I came to the throne of grace, not with any confidence that day, 40 times, bowing down at the great white throne, laying down every burden, if you know what I'm talking about. Because that chicken is trying to send me to Jesus. But there's also another kind of things that will grow behind your fridge. Right now, we grow the sourdough starter, and we use it every single week. And instead of trying to send me to Jesus, that sourdough starter, it brings me praises to Jesus. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus, for this food. So behind the fridge, in the dark, there's always something that is growing, and that is just like your heart. Whether it's going to grow to rot or it's going to grow closer to God. And the question is, where is your heart? What is it growing to? It is already changing right now. It's not the matter of if, it's the matter of what. What is your heart turning to? And that is really the thing that will determine whether it's going to bring you to the fulfillment of the promises of God, or is it going to bring you to rot. I think that's important. Let's continue together with me here. It's the story of Abraham and Sarah. And all of us, we have heard about the story, and I know that Pastor Erwan has been preaching about this. All the other pastors has been preaching about this. This is the theme of the month. We're talking about the life of Abraham and Sarah. And I think that this is a life that is really frustrating. I want to bring you a little bit of context. I want to give you a little bit of background about their story. Because it's super long, it's super fascinating, and I think like their life can be frustrating, and I can relate with them. Because when you wanted something and you really have been waiting about something, and the promise keeps on coming to you and saying, trust me, bro, this is going to happen. Trust me, bro. Just trust me. Just trust me. Just trust me. But after 25 years, how many of you are together with me? You will start feeling tired. You will start feeling tired, and you start getting worn out. And during the 25 years, what they learn out of their experiences, every time that they're trying to help God, every time they're trying to take control, the illusion of control of their own life, when they try to take it, they always make things a little bit complicated and a little bit more painful for their life. When God promised Abraham, hey, come out of your land, and I'm going to bless you, he brought along with him Lot, because he knew that he didn't have kids. And what happened is that there are conflicts between him and Lot, that God had to separate him. And Lot's life was in danger because of it. When he tried to meddle around, God says that this is going to be your place. He went to Egypt because there's hunger. And he went and said that this is not my wife, this is my sister. Pharaoh took his wife as one of his own until God has to intervene. This is supposed to be the mother of the many nations, and now somebody else owns it as their wife. That is a danger when you started believing in your own heart that the illusion of control can bring you somewhere instead of trusting God that is in control of your life. That is the difference that is going to make in your life whether your heart is going to grow towards God or is it going to rot. Who is in control? Who do you really trust? Where do you put your heart? That is the thing, that is going to determine where is your route to fulfillment. Let's read it together with me here. It's a long passage, but it's a good, fascinating story in Genesis 18. This is the story, the final story, right before their breakthrough happened. This is let me read it to you. The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance to his tent in the heat of the day. So he's just sitting, doing nothing, and God appeared to him, and he felt something. God was talking with him. And suddenly, here in verse 2, it says that Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried from his entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed down low to the ground. He said, I have found favor in the eyes. My Lord, do not pass your servant by. Let a little water be brought, and then you may wash your feet and rest under this tree. Let me get you something to eat so you can be refreshed. Then go on your way. Now that you have come to your servant, very well, he answered. Do as you say. Verse 6. So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah and said, Quick, he said, get 3 seahs of the finest flour and knead and bake some bread. Then he ran to the herd and selected a choice, tender premium Wagyu calf and gave it to the servant. He herd and prepared it. He brought some curds with milk and the calf that had been prepared and set these before them. While they ate, he stood near them under a tree. Where is your wife Sarah? They asked him. There, in the tent, he said. Then one of them said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, so in 1 year. And Sarah, your wife, will have a son. And now Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah were already very old, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, after I'm worn out and my Lord is old, now will I have displeasure? Then the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child now that I'm old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son. Sarah was afraid, so she lied, I did not laugh. But he said, yes, you did. You did laugh. Okay, let's end it right there. And I just want to bring our attention to the scene here. Imagine, like, during the heat of day, I want you to pay attention to what Sarah is doing in the scene. What happened was Sarah was actually being a perfect host. There are people, 3 men coming from far away land, and they're hungry, they're tired, and they're so thirsty, and they were serving these 3 men with the best thing that they can find. All right? Sarah was being a perfect host. But behind the entire scene, behind the entire story, what happened is that Sarah hid inside of her tent, where there no one else that can see what she was doing. So no one can see what Sarah was doing, although she was being a perfect host. And inside of this tent, it was said that she was eavesdropping, listening to the conversation instead of being there. And she laughed at the conversation. And I want to tell you, like, inside of the story, there are very key words that are specific that the Bible mentioned. The word laugh, inside laugh that was mentioned here in this side of the Bible, it is coming from the word berkibah, which is a word for the inside belly. It's for the word for womb. Okay? So it is not even a chuckle. It's not even like a something that you can hear audibly from the outside, but it's really something that happens on the inside. Not only that the 3 men should not be able to see Sarah, they should not be able to hear what Sarah was doing. All right? And then the word laugh here, it's not just inside of the belly. They specifically use the word sasak, which means a laughter that is mocking, a laughter that is full of disbelief, a laughter that is cynical. How many of us, we can relate with this, that on the outside, on the appearance, we look productive, we're serving, we're doing everything that is right, but inside of our hearts, we started growing cynical. We started growing cold. We started growing to disbelief. We started mocking, not audibly. Sometimes even we don't realize that we're doing the things that we did. We don't realize what's going on inside of our hearts. You know? We stop realizing that there is something wrong with our hearts. And that's why God has to point it out. Years ago, about 20 years ago, and this is like why 20 years ago, let me just tell you the story. When I was a junior software engineer, I just started my career and stuff, and I was a junior software engineer. And as a junior engineer, you will own like small pieces of components. Typically, nobody will see what you're doing. It's just internal and being used by bigger system. Nobody will question you. They just tell you what to do, and you start doing things. And I own this piece that's supposed to validate signature of computer. We call it the signature hit analyzer. All right, that's what I call it. And it's so mouthful, it's so long calling it signature hit analyzer. And we want to come up with acronym, and I started naming my own tool. S for signature, hit obviously, analyzer, S hit analyzer. So I call it poop analyzer because I cannot say the word here in church. All right? I call it poop analyzer internally because I thought that it was funny. My friends thought that it was funny. And it was just working, and nobody knows that poop analyzer was living inside of the system. All right? Poop analyzer does its job. Poop analyzer is super good. And because of that, the system grew and grew. At one time, we were supposed to be doing a presentation on the bigger org, telling what our team has accomplished. And we did a dry run, telling them of what we accomplished, and we start showing the system internally. And there we go, sits poop analyzer right in front of my manager's face, and my belly just sunk down. I feel, uh-oh. But it's good. It's a reminder for me that sometimes something that I forgot was there, something that was bad, that could have been leaked to the bigger organization was captured there, right there and then. And that is the same reason why God had to confront Sarah. You can go to the next slide here. God had to confront Sarah and said, why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child now that I'm old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son. Sarah was afraid, and she lied, saying that I did not laugh. But again, God had to confront and bring what's inside of the darkness, what's inside of the tent, what's inside of the belly, outside so that she can deal with it, so it can be brought into daylight and be fixed. It's not to shame Sarah. And the same way, sometimes things that are hidden and cold in the dark inside of our hearts, it's there without us knowing it, and it's toxic and it's bad, just like that poop analyzer. God has to bring it out and to point it to us so that we know it has to be fixed. Without it, you're just going to drift away. And instead of finding the promises, you will grow to rot. How many of you can relate? And that God knows and God cares and God sees the content of your tent. God cares and sees the content of your belly. And I think that this is super interesting because the word berkiba here not only means belly, it actually also means womb. It's something that is inside. Inside of this womb where the baby is supposed to be growing, it grows cynicism, it grows disbelief, it grows bitterness instead. And that is the thing that God wants to bring out. And God said, no. From inside of this belly, it shouldn't grow cynicism and bitterness. Well, inside of this belly, it should grow my promise to you. Do you have that space in your heart? And because of that, sometimes God has to point it through a difficult, confrontational way to us, saying like, this is the part that I want to bring out because you need to make room for my promise in your life. Second thing, let's pay attention to Abraham now. Because this is a very telling story. Genesis 17, before this whole thing happened, it was said, in some tradition, they believe that this happened like 3 days after Genesis 17. In Genesis 17, when God showed up to Abraham and gave him the promise again, saying that you will be a big nation, etc., it ended with a command to Abraham saying that you and your descendants and all the recipients of the promise will need to be circumcised. It was a big deal. It was the first time it was recorded inside of the Bible where God is asking for snip. You know, and there we go, Abraham 3 days after being snip. That's why he was standing on top of, that's why he was standing under the tree. He was not laying down, he was not sitting because it was too painful. There he was standing underneath a tree. And then after God showed up to him, right, through that vision, through that promises, he saw that the three strangers show up at noon, and he ran. That was the moment of pain. That was the moment of the full vulnerability. And God showed him the three men, and he ran away to capture that moment. And then not only that, he started serving at the best. He started serving a feast for those people because he knew that they were hungry. And I started reading this, and I started scratching my head. That is a lot of food, God. It says 3 sheets of flour. And that is equivalent about 40 pounds of flour. For those of you who ever bake, that is enough to make about like 60 loaves of bread. That's a lot of food. And then after that, it was said that he go and pick and choose and slaughter and bleed and prepare and cook the best calf that they can find. That is a lengthy process. Sometimes when we're about to eat and I have to cook for an hour, everybody already complained. It's a long moment. Imagine baking 60 loaves of bread. Imagine killing a cow, let it bleed, cooking it. It's an entire elaborate process that takes a long, long time. But here's the key. Not that only Abraham feed them, he also fellowship with them, that it changed his heart. A lot of times, when we are trying to change our hearts, it's so difficult. It's like, don't be cynical, bro. How can I not change my heart? How can I change my heart? I don't know how to do it. It's like asking you to unsee the things that you've seen, Oh, just forget it, bro. How can I forget it? My brain is not designed for amnesia. It's there. It's written. I know it. I've seen it. I'm disappointed. How can you tell me not to be disappointed? It's there in my heart. But I believe that the key is if you want to get rid of something, sometimes you just got to feed the right thing. I talked a little bit earlier about the fridge, and I want to introduce you to our newest pet in our house. The sourdough starter is a pet in our house, and I name it Elon Crust. Elon Crust is older than me. We got it from a neighbor. It's 50 years old, apparently, and Elon Crust came from Hawaii in this case. It was grown before. And I thought that the process of creating a sourdough starter is really fascinating. Because in order for you to make sourdough starter, you just take some flour and you just put some water in it. And the first day when you do it, nothing happens. Second day, you keep on repeating it. It will start stinking. It will start smelling. And it's really bad. As a matter of fact, if you eat it immediately, you probably will get sick. And the reason behind it is because when you start the whole entire process, there's a lot of bacteria, a bad bacteria that is growing inside of that jar, right? But if you keep on feeding it, inside of it, not only the bad bacteria, the good bacteria and yeast are also growing. And if you keep on feeding the right food, giving it the right environment for the good bacteria, the good yeast to grow, it will produce acid and kill the bacteria. It will outgrow that it will not be enough resource for the bacteria. After about like a week or two, you started smelling that the entire jar, that Elon Crust, doesn't smell stinky anymore. Elon Crust now smells like bready and yeasty, like a good bread. And a lot of times in our lives, we're focusing on fighting the bad bacteria. We're trying to put things, kill it, but it doesn't work. It's always lingering there, like asking you to forget about something. But here, I think like Abraham got the right concept. If you want to get rid of the negative in your heart, you just gotta feed the positive until it outcrowd the negative in your hearts. How many of you know, like in your relationship, it's like that sometimes? Like you can always focus on the negative parts of your spouse. You can always focus on the negative side of your friends. You can always focus on the negative side of your end. and you will never go anywhere. You can always complain to God. God, why? Why me? Why me? I have a friend back then too. We're all blessed. We all got jobs eventually. We all got our lives moving on. But this guy always managed to find something to complain about his life. He was healed by God out of a big disease. But then after that, he doesn't have a girlfriend. He keeps on complaining. He doesn't have a girlfriend. After that, he got a girlfriend, but he doesn't have a job. And he starts complaining again. Always full of complaint. It's the guy that is always being told like, hey bro, there's the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, at the end of the tunnel, the light that you see is the train about to hit me. Bro, it's always darkest before the dawn. Yeah, but if it rains in the morning, it doesn't matter. Like always being able to find the negative of everything and never be thankful that his life is dark and full of terror. How many of us are like that? I'm not saying that we should just be positive thinking and ignore what's going on around us, but I think we should feed a thankful heart, a heart that is trusting in God, because that is the thing that is going to propel you forward. Abraham got the right thing, that not only he fed the 3 men that was sent to him, he fellowshiped with them. He let that thing change his heart from a person that is trying to take control into a person that is believing. Let's go to the next. And I think that this is my final point. Abraham and Sarah on the third part. Sarah said, inside of her cynical laughter, after I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have displeasure? I think this is a very important part of the Bible, which is sometimes it sounded inside of a church, it's a bit NSF, you know. NSW, not suitable for work. Sarah mentioned like, God, how can this be? She was cynical, not just talking about her physicality. She said that I'm worn out after everything that we tried, after everything that I'm trying to intervene, after everything that we went through. I'm tired. I don't know if I want to have this trust anymore. Like, it's so painful in hoping, but never happening. All right? And then not just that, not only that my heart is tired of believing, my Lord is old and I'm old. It says that they were 99 and 80 years old. They were past their age of childbearing age. There's no way in terms of physicality that this is going to happen. And this is the part that she really laughed at. And she said that, will I now have this pleasure? The word pleasure here, a lot of times we think that it's about the pleasure of having a kid. It's pleasureful having something that is born. But that is not really what this word was meant. This word comes from the word etna, which means intimacy, delight. You know NSFW? I cannot say it in this church right now. But you know what I mean if you're old enough. They're 99, almost 100, and about 90 years old now. They just lost that pleasure. They just lost that desire. They just lost it. But in order for this promise to happen, they still need to come together. God doesn't send like a bird bringing the baby down for the promise to happen. Something gotta happen. They still gotta come together even when the feeling is gone, even when you feel inside of you it's dry and the hope is nowhere to be found. 20 years ago, again, like yes, that long. When I graduated, I was trying to find a job. It took me a full year. Rejection after rejection after rejection while I was actually serving inside of a church, believing that God is going to provide. But every single time I applied, I got rejected. And I have to tell you, like, you can probably relate with me. You know, after so many times trying and you just feel like maybe God, you're not there. Maybe God, it's not for me. Maybe it's just time for me to give up. Maybe it's just time for me to do something else, to find something else. But Every time I feel that way, and it's not just feeling disappointed that I got rejected. I also started feeling like, God, are you real? Are you really there? Because I am doing everything that your word is saying and still nothing going on. I don't feel worshiping you. I just don't feel coming back again. I just don't feel to communicate with you anymore. I just don't feel to bring my pain in prayer anymore because it's just not happening. Nothing goes on. But every time that feeling comes, I decided, okay, maybe one more time. I still come together to the Lord, even when the heart is painful, even when the heart says that it cannot be done. And I still remember at one point, after a full year trying, a pastor came and prayed to me and saying like, by 2 weeks from now, you will have a couple jobs lining up for you. Not one, not two, 3. I thought to myself a little bit cynical. Just like Sarah did. Yeah, right. I couldn't even land one for a full year. 2 weeks after, through a very interesting sets of interview that went on through companies that I thought that out of my league, I couldn't get there. Wasn't even my major. I got it. And it becomes such a different laughter that it's not a cynical laughter, but it's a laughter that, oh my God, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. And that is exactly the laughter that Sarah encountered at the end in Genesis 21. It says that God had brought me the laughter, and everyone who hears it will laugh with me. The word laughter here, it's no longer sashak, which means our laughter full of mock, laughter of disbelief, laughter that is cynical from the inside, but it's a laughter that says that He will laugh with me. Everybody that is around me will laugh together with me in disbelief. How could it be that I don't deserve this? How could this be? This should not happen, but it did, and I'm so thankful, I'm so joyous. That is the kind of laughter that Isaac means. It's no longer shashak, but it's Isaac now. It's a different kind of laughter. God did not change her desire, but God changed her heart. From the point of rotting to the point of breakthrough is because the one that is in control is different. It's no longer Abraham and Sarah that control the illusion of control in their life, but it was God that was in control in their lives. So I want to bring you back again to the question, when your heart is just like in that fridge, in the cold, in the dark, no one sees, no one knows where it's growing, it's already growing somewhere. The question is it growing to go to rot? Or is it going to grow towards God? Because it's growing, it's changing every day. It's just a matter of into what. And I just want to encourage us, even in your darkest moment, even when that feeling is gone, even just like when Sarah said that the Etna is gone. Just don't feel like praying anymore. Just don't feel like trusting you anymore. Just don't feel it anymore. God had to bring it to the light and to tell her, like, I care. Even though it's hidden, I see. And I want to replace that cynicism in your heart with that joy, with that thankfulness that can only happen if you walk and persevere, and at the end, you're victorious and you say like, oh, it's impossible, but I win it. Not because of me, but because you are in control. Because if it's me that controls it, it makes all sense. Yes, I have a different ear, but that is because of my wisdom. It happens, not the perfect thing. And people maybe looking at it and they will say like, yeah, that makes sense. But I'm talking about the kind of joy that people will look back and they will say that, yeah, possible. Couldn't have happened. And they will all agree, and they couldn't help to laugh and to agree together with you that that must be God. That's the fingerprint that God is trying to leave during the fulfillment of His promises.